morning. Today I'm in Hammersmith in search of another London hero. This particular gentleman was born here in 1903 and he ticks all the boxes when it comes to that colourful, cockney, lovable rogue. He was a professional wrestler, a professional boxer, hung out with stars and celebrities alike, was private security to the royal family and was sometimes, a little bit naughty. One of the best ways to describe this colourful character, take 3 movies, Rocky, Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, The Bodyguard, put them all into a blender, mix them all up, and you come up with Chick, Cocky, Knight.
Round 1.
Today I've arranged a meeting with Andrew Scott, Chick's great nephew. He's just published a book about Chick's life and we're going to find out more about this colourful character down by the riverside, just over there. First of all, Andy, lovely to meet you.
Likewise.
Thanks for agreeing to come today.
No, pleasure.
Now, you're going to share with me a very special story, and we're here sitting on this bench for a reason, aren't we?
Indeed.
Because of this gentleman here.
Yep, my great uncle Chick.
Yep.
He was one of the first British wrestlers on TV in 1938. He was born in Hammersmith in 1903. He worked at Riverside Studios just behind us, but as you say, the reason why we're here is the infamous incident which happened on the 15th of June 1930 when he saved 2 people from drowning by jumping in the Thames off Hammersmith Bridge.
Now this was on the same day or 2 different occasions?
On the same day. He went in twice, so jumped in the first time. Basically what had happened was he and his young son Ronnie were walking over the bridge about 5:15 on the 15th of June 1930. He sees a young girl in trouble in the water, and as he looks to his left he sees a gentleman in trouble as well, and the young girl was 9-year-old Dorothy Folger. The gentleman was a guy called Charles Dennett, and he was about 35 years old, and what had happened was Charles had gone in to try and save Dorothy, who was struggling in the water, and got into trouble himself. So Chick basically made the judgment to jump in off the side of the bridge, and bear in mind as we're sitting here today that the tide was quite high. It's always treacherous here.
And at what time of year was this?
So this was June, summertime, and about 5:15. So the tide, we worked out the tide at the time, so it would have been about 15-16 feet of water. So it was no mean feat. So he goes in, he pulls Dorothy out, and then he goes back in and rescues Charles at the same time.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So he took Dorothy to the shore.
Yeah.
She was obviously conscious by that time.
Yeah.
And he'd done his job, she was alive.
Yeah.
And then he had the willpower to think, I haven't finished it.
Yeah.
I've got unfinished business.
Yeah.
There's someone still struggling in the water.
Exactly.
I'm going to get straight back in
Yeah.
and save another life.
Indeed.
Do you think because of Chick's ambition and drive for boxing and wrestling, that fearless side of him was always inbuilt? It was always part of his life. He never really feared anything.
He didn't, no. He was very quiet about what he'd done in terms of these feats. Never really spoke about them, and was always known as sort of gentle out of the ring. But when he was in it, he was quite ferocious. Yeah. But he was a very strong swimmer, and obviously he picked that up in the army. When he went in, he was quite small in stature, quite very slight in his physique, but he became a champion at boxing, wrestling and fencing in the army, and then obviously that helped with his swimming, and later in life he was actually a lifeguard at Acton swimming bars as well.
What about his colourful side, shall we say, the movies, work with the royal family?
Yeah.
I heard he was a bodyguard. I heard he appeared in George Formby films.
Indeed. Well, he did some security work, and he then did some extra work along with his brother at Riverside Studios here, and obviously they were filming a lot of the Gainsborough films then, and the Ealing side of things. George Formby had come to see Chick wrestle in Blackpool, and then Chick was signed up to a gentleman by the name of Mickey Woods, who ran his own film stunt and door work agency. There was about 300 wrestlers sort of on the books and boxers. Chick was one of them. And that's how he became involved in the film side of things. The door work sort of came from that as well, working in West End and Soho nightclubs. And yeah, there were various strings to his bow. And then he went into, from the door work, he went into doing security for the royal family for Princess Margaret at Kensington Palace as well. So yeah, it's certainly what I mean. Colourful is pretty understatement,
isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. But he certainly had very many strings to his bow, and it was a question of trying to get as much recorded in the book as I could about his life and what he did.
Another little thing that really fascinated me with Chick is he hung out with a few very interesting characters. One of those characters was called Albert Pierpoint. Was
Yes.
a big friend of his.
Yes, indeed.
And if people don't know, Albert Pierpoint was Britain's very last famous hangman, and quite an interesting character in himself. How did they manage to create, get a relationship, a friendship going?
Well, we know that Albert had a great fondness for boxing, and as far as I'm aware, the strong possibility is that obviously he'd seen Chick box professionally, and the two had formed quite a close association. Whenever Albert would say, "Oh, I'm coming down to London on business," as he referred to it, the two would get together. They also shared a fondness for fine cigars as well.
After chatting to Andy about Chick's colourful and varied life, as the weather was so wonderful that day, we decided to cross Hammersmith Bridge over towards Barnes. On the south side of the bridge there is a thoroughfare called Castle Knoll, and on Castle Knoll stands the house where Chick was brought up.
On our way back over Hammersmith Bridge, I asked Andy if he could show me the exact spot where Chick jumped over the railings of Hammersmith Bridge, dived into the River Thames to perform his heroic act. So Andy, you've taken me, which essentially will probably be the west side of Hammersmith Bridge here, isn't it?
Yep.
And this is the location, the part of the bridge where basically Chick jumped in.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Was it actually on the bank or was it off this?
Off the bridge itself. So, like I said, he saw Dorothy and the gentleman Charles Dennett in trouble in the water. He obviously would have seen Dorothy first, and then makes the decision to go in.
Yeah.
And takes Dorothy out, pulls Dorothy out, puts her on the side on the bank, and then goes back in to rescue Charles and pulls Charles out. And as you can see, it's quite a fast flowing tide.
We've just had a high tide here, and it's on the turn, and you can literally see the speed of the leaves racing under the bridge. Now, people don't know, but the surf underneath the surface, the riptide, can be horrendous here.
Indeed.
And take many lives.
Yeah, and the little whirlpools that you have with the undercurrents as well. Especially if you watch the boat race, they often keep to the fast flowing tide to obviously get the speed as they come under the bridge. So they're keeping almost to the left bank, which is the St Paul's side where we've just come across here.
Yep.
So again, it would have been quite fast flowing at that particular time to have gone in, swum against it, pulled Dorothy out, and then gone back in to rescue Charles.
Obviously, Dorothy was pulled up onto the shore there.
Yeah.
He then just went straight back in the water and continued with rescue number 2.
Yeah.
It was back over Hammersmith Bridge and then down onto the River Walk, where Andy invited me into Sam's restaurant, and believe it or not, they'd named a cocktail after Chick. It was called the Haymaker, which was his signature punch when he was a boxer stroke wrestler, and boy did this thing pack a punch.
So here are 2 haymakers.
So of course there was only one thing left to do: raise a glass to Chick Knight. and thank him for his heroicism in saving 2 lives at Hammersmith Bridge.
Thanks for watching Secrets of London with me, Mark Monroe. More amazing London stories coming soon. So remember, stay tuned.